Hey everyone, how y'all doing? Welcome back to my channel. So it is halfway through the year essentially, which means it's time to do the mid-year book freakout tag. The first question is best book that you've read so far in 2021. So for me, that is definitely Counting Down with You by Tasha Bouillon. I feel like this is absolutely no surprise to anyone who's been on my channel at all this year. This book is all that I talk about, and I really tried to find different books to talk about for the remainder of this video, but I did not do a good job. So you will see me talk about this book many times throughout this video, but I'm not even sorry about it because it's really good. But this is the arc that I received back in February of this year. I read it in February. I also reread it when I got my final copy because that is just how obsessed I am with this story. It had beautiful anxiety representation that made me feel seen. Like by the first chapter, I think, like it was really early on where I was like, oh, this anxiety rep is gonna mean a lot to me. Also, the relationship was really great. Fake dating is my favorite trope. Like literally, if you say a book has fake dating, I am 10 times more likely to pick that book up because this trope, oh, it can be done so many different ways and it's just excellent every single time. Like I don't know if I've read a book with fake dating in it that I did not like. It's just the superior trope and I will not apologize for it. It is clearly the best. I cannot say enough kind things about this book. Like look at all the tabs that are in this book. Like, I've never tabbed a book this much. I am pretty sure there is a tab on every single page, and even then, there are multiple tabs per page. So, we know that I love this book with my entire heart. I will never stop talking about it, and I know that I'm just gonna keep rereading it a million times, but you know it's a good book if I read it and immediately after want to reread it. It took a lot of self-control to not reread it until the final copy came in May. I love this book, but we're gonna hear more about it in the rest of the video, so let's just move on to the next question. So the second question is best sequel you've read so far in 2021. So I haven't read that many sequels this year, and out of all the sequels that I have read, none of them stood out to me except for one, and it's not like a direct sequel, it's more like a companion type of sequel, but it is Actor Age Eve Brown by Talia Hibbert. This is the third book in the Brown sister trilogy, and it was really good. Like top tier romance. Talia Hibbert has such amazing characters that I find so relatable. Even if I'm not experiencing the same things that they are, I can still relate to certain aspects of what they're going through and how they're feeling and just connect it in my own personal way, which I really appreciate about each of her Brown sister books that I've read. Absolutely adored the characters in this book, and I loved the cameos that we got in this book from the other two sisters from the previous books. Absolutely adored it. Again, it's very tabbed up because it's just that good. Like it is so amazing. I absolutely adore it, and it was just a very solid sequel. It's not my favorite in the trilogy, but overall it was a really great book, and I cannot wait to reread it in the future, but I really enjoyed myself with this one. The third question is a new release that you haven't read yet but really want to. So on June 1st, every book ever was released and there were a ton of books that came out that day, but I just decided to talk about one of them today since I could literally list a million new releases that I want to read. So to keep it short, the one that I decided to talk about is The Ghost We Keep by Mason Deaver. I really enjoyed their debut novel, I Wish You All the Best. I have it right here. I loved it. It was so enjoyable, and so I was really anticipating their next release. It's been a couple of years, so I am like ready for more Mason Deaver stories. This one seems like it's going to be really sad. All I know is that our main character's brother died, and it's something to do with that. So books about grief, obviously very sad, but I love me some sad books, and I feel like I haven't read like a really sad book in a long time, so I'm like really looking forward to reading this one and seeing what else Mason Deaver has in store for me. The next question is most anticipated release for the second half of the year. So I have two that I'm going to talk about, which are really the only two that at least I have my bullet journal in my anticipated releases spreads that I'm excited for this year. The first one is If This Gets Out. This book deals with a gay relationship, I believe, in a band, which I'm really intrigued by, so I'm really excited for this one. And then we have Here's to Us by Becky Albertalli and Adam Silvera. This is the sequel to What If It's Us, which I am so excited for because I love What If It's Us, and I have a gut feeling that this one is just going to be so much better. So fingers crossed that they don't actually disappoint me instead, but I am so excited for this book. Like, oh, you don't even know. Like, I am so excited to kind of see where Arthur and Ben's story goes. Hopefully we have a happy ending. You never know when it's Adam Silvera, but hopefully Becky Albertalli would have reined him in for a happy ending. Fingers crossed. The fifth question is biggest disappointment, and for me by a long shot is The Young Elites by Marie Lu. I actually owned this entire trilogy, but I've recently unhauled it because I needed more room on my shelves, and I just knew I wasn't going to complete the series and I did not care about it, so I decided to get rid of it. I had high hopes for this trilogy. Obviously, I bought all 3 books before even reading the first one because that's how much faith I had that I was gonna love it, because I love the Legend series by Marie Lu. But this one just, I don't know, it didn't work the same for me. I literally tried to read The Young Elites a couple of times before actually finally finishing it this 3rd time. I tried reading it physically, I tried reading it through an audiobook, and then I finally finished it listening to it on audio. And this book, I don't know, I don't think objectively it's a bad story. I think for me, I just wasn't connecting to the characters or the actual plot and world. I don't know, there is something about this series that I just could not connect to. I would get to the end of each book and I just wouldn't care, and I honestly forgot the ending of one of them. Like, I had no idea how it ended, and so like I just yeah, it was a big disappointment because obviously I wanted to love it, but I just didn't. And the next question is biggest surprise. So this one's a bit of a weird one because I couldn't think of one that was like a huge pleasant surprise or even like a huge like surprise, maybe like in a bad way. I think this question is like meaning for it to be in a positive way, but I feel like every book that I read this year that I enjoyed, I pretty much expected to enjoy. So the one that I chose to answer this with is An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. So the reasoning behind this one is because I wasn't ever planning on reading it, and I only read it for my reading taste reading vlog. It was one of Elisa's picks, and that was the only reason that I picked it up. If it wasn't for that, I never would have read this book, and so like that was a surprise in and of itself that I even read it at all. And I guess the other reasoning is that I didn't hate it. Like, not like I ever expected to fully hate it, I just thought that I wouldn't really like it, and I guess I didn't really like it, but I also like, I don't have an opinion, like I'm indifferent to it, and I thought that I would have a stronger opinion either way, but I'm kind of indifferent towards it. Like, I'm not going to continue the series, but I don't have any like beef with it. Like, I don't have any bad feelings towards it. I just don't think it was my kind of story. But I think the biggest surprise element here is that I wasn't expecting to read it at all, and I don't think that's what this question was going for here, but that's how I'm gonna answer it. So the next question is a favorite new to you author. I actually have 2 for this one. So the first one is Tashi Bhuiyan, who wrote Counting Down with You, because obviously it's one of my new favorite books of all time and of the year, obviously, and I'm so ready to read literally anything that Tashi writes. She has another book coming out next year, I believe, called A Show for Two, and I'm very excited for it. And she also has another book that just sounds so amazing that she's working on, but I'm just so excited to literally read anything that Tashi Bhuiyan writes, because her writing style is so easy to read, so addictive, so beautiful. Her characters are amazing and they just feel so real and wonderful. So I am definitely just looking forward to anything that she writes. New auto by author for me, and I am just obsessed with her. And then the next author is Marissa Cantor. She wrote What I Like About You. She has a new book coming out called As If on Cue. I can't remember if it's this year or next year. I can't remember, but she has another book coming out called As If on Cue, and I'm really excited for it. But I adored this book, and I'm actually going to talk about it in a minute, so I don't want to say too much, but I just really enjoyed her writing style and her characters and storytelling, so I'm really excited to read more from her, and I could definitely see her becoming a favorite author as well. Well, we're just really talking about Counting Down with You a lot, because the next question is newest fictional crush. So I don't really crush on fictional characters anymore because I read a lot of YA and I'm turning 21, so it gets a little weird. So this isn't necessarily like a fictional crush, but this is kind of like who I would have loved to have in high school and who I would love to have an age-appropriate version of for myself now. So for that, it's Ace Clyde from Counting Down with You. He is like the perfect fictional boyfriend, okay? He buys Karina 12 hardcover books a week. We love him. He's so sweet and caring and supportive and understanding of literally everything. If he crosses a line, he never crosses it again. And he's just so supportive and beautiful, and like I said, understanding, especially of like her anxiety. He never gets mad at her for it or anything. He's just completely supportive, and I know that Tashi wrote him to be kind of like the perfect guy, because Karina has so much other shit going on that she really just wanted Karina to have like one good thing. So Ace is that good thing for her, so he doesn't really do anything wrong, which we adore. So he's definitely the kind of guy that I would have loved in high school and that I would love an age-appropriate version of now, please and thank you. The next question is newest fictional character, and I did try to think of something that was not Counting Down with You related, but I just don't feel as strongly about any characters as I do about Ace and Karina in Counting Down with You. I'm sorry. Like, I've already talked about Ace, so we already know why I love Ace, but Karina is such a strong and beautiful human as well. I love the character growth and development she undergoes in this book, which is also really funny and smart and wonderful, and I really enjoyed being in her head in this book and kind of following her journey, and like I said, seeing that growth that she goes through was just so wonderful. I also really love Karina's dadu in this, her grandma. She was also just like such a sweet human, and I loved the way that she supported and stood up for Karina. It was absolutely beautiful. And yeah, I basically just love every character from this book, but especially Ace and Karina and Dadu. I'm obsessed, and I'm sorry that I keep talking about this book. I don't even know if this is the last time or not, but I love this book clearly. The next question is a book that made you cry. So I can't think of a book that actually made me cry besides like a reread, because like Anne of Green Gables totally made me cry, but I have like a bad memory, so I can't remember if a book made me cry or not. But I chose Felix Ever After by Case and Calendar because I know that I got sad at a few parts, but I can't remember if I actually cried. So we're just gonna assume that I teared up at one point, you know. I mean, I'm sure there's another book that I cried at. Did I cry at Counting Down with You? I mean, probably. I have no idea, but let's just assume that I cried at Felix Ever After because there were some sad moments. Next question is a book that made you happy. So for this one, I went with What I Like About You by Marissa Cantor. So this book, I don't know, like for the most part, it was a very like upbeat, just fun, enjoyable story to read about. There were obviously some heavier topics, and I do love when books are like mainly upbeat but have those heavier topics like kind of woven through, I guess. But overall, I read this book in a sitting. It was so enjoyable to read. I loved the characters. I loved the incorporation of like a book blog and, you know, bookish things, and a book con was in this book, which was a lot of fun, and the relationship was just really fun to read about as well. It's one of my favorite tropes again, where the characters have like a relationship online and then they also end up having a relationship offline, but they don't know that it's each other, or one of them doesn't know that it's the other person. I love things like that, and I just think that that dynamic works so well, and the tension is beautiful. So I just had a really good time reading this book, and it made me really, really happy because I loved it so much. Question 12 is most beautiful book that you've bought so far this year. So I do have a couple for this one. So the first one is Blood Like Magic by Lizelle Sambury. This is an ARC that I received from Simon & Schuster. This book, I mean, like, come on, it comes out June 15th. So you guys can go buy this book, I think, by the time this video comes out. So go get it because it was a really good book. But also this cover is just so beautiful, and I can't wait to see it in its like final like physical form, and like see what the dust jacket looks like and everything, and like what the naked book looks like. Oh, it's gonna be so beautiful. But already this ARC is gorgeous. I'm just obsessed with this cover. Like from the second Lizelle Sambury announced the cover, I was obsessed. The colors, the illustration, it just works so well, and if I saw this in a bookstore without knowing anything about it, I would definitely be drawn to it because it's stunning. Like, I don't know what else you want me to say about it. Like, just, oh, everything about it is perfect. Also, I mean, come on, Counting Down with You. This is my finished copy. It is just so beautiful. I mean, come on. It's even more beautiful than the art because it's got the raised lettering, and underneath it's a beautiful blue color with a pink shiny title. I'm just obsessed with it. Again, I love the artwork and the design of this cover. I love the post-it notes counting down the days. It is just an absolutely stunning, beautiful cover. Plus, I get to see Ace and Karina at the bottom, which just makes me so happy. And the last book I'm going to talk about for this question is Happily Ever After by Elise Bryant. This cover is the dream. Okay, she also just announced a sequel or like companion book, and it has like the same style as this one, which I adore. We love matching covers, but I love the cute, adorable font. It just fits so well, and this illustration of our main character in the laptop with all of these stickers on it. I am obsessed. Like, if my cover looked like this, I think I would cry from pure joy because it's just so beautiful. And the last question is, what books do you really need to read by the end of the year? I'm only going to talk about 2 books, although there are 1,000,001 books that I need to read this year because I'm very behind on my goal. But these are 2 books from my 2021 TBR. So we have Opposite of Always by Justin A. Reynolds. This is a book that I've been wanting to read ever since it came out, I believe in 2019, and I finally got my hands on a copy of it, I think last year, and I am just so excited to read it. But for some reason I just never reach for it. Maybe because it's always back here behind Scrump, so I just never see it. But I need to read it this year because it's on my 2021 TBR, so I need to read it. It just seems like such a fun story, but also like a heartbreaking story. I don't know. I'm excited for whatever this book wants to give me. I just need to actually read it. So the other book is Grown by Tiffany D. Jackson. Again, also from my 2021 TBR. I love Tiffany D. Jackson. Loved her book Monday's Not Coming. And so I'm obviously very excited for this one. It seems like it's going to be so heartbreaking, but also beautiful. And so I'm really excited to get to it. So hopefully I read it soon and love it. Because again, it's on my 2021 TBR. Like, I need to read and finish it, please. And I think I'm actually going to be reading this one very soon, maybe even next month. So that was the mid-year book freakout tag. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a huge thumbs up. Comment down below what your favorite book of the year has been so far, because I'd really love to know. Subscribe if you have not yet already, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!